There's so much this president, the Obama administration, has done that worries me and that weakens our country. I worry about $18 trillion of debt. I worry about Obamacare putting bureaucrats between us and our doctors. I worry about the EPA smothering our economy. I worry about taxes and borrowing and regulations. I worry about the growth of the federal government. But with conservative leadership, we can reverse much of that damage. The thing that worries me the most, the thing that keeps me up at night, is this president's relentless efforts to change the definition of the American dream. You see it in his actions, you hear it in his speeches. If you listen to this president long enough, you understand what he means about the American dream. It's all about envy and class warfare. It's about dividing us. It's about redistribution. It's about growing the federal government to make it bigger, more expensive, more expansive, more like Europe, more involved in our lives. I don't know about you, but that is not the American dream that my parents taught me. The American dream I learned about was an America where we are forever young. An America where our best days are always ahead of us. An America where the circumstances of your birth don't determine your outcomes as an adult in America. Where we're not guaranteed equal outcomes, we are guaranteed equal opportunity. If you work hard, get a great education, you can do great things in this country. Now, the reason this is so important to me is my parents, they have lived the American dream. My daddy's 1 of 9. First and the only one in the family to get past the 5th grade. Literally grew up in a house without electricity, without running water. I know because we heard these stories every single day of our lives. Good luck trying to get an allowance from a guy like that. But here's the amazing thing. Nearly 50 years ago, my parents came halfway across the world to Baton Rouge, Louisiana. They had never been on a plane. They had never been to Louisiana. They had never even met anybody who had been to Louisiana or was from Louisiana. Imagine, you can't even ask somebody, what's the weather like? What's the food like? What are the people like? Yet my dad brought his pregnant wife, my mom, halfway across the world because they knew in their bones, even though they had never visited, they knew that there was this special place. And that if you got here, and they came legally, but that if you got here, and by the way, Mr. President, it's not that hard. We don't need a comprehensive bill. All we need for him is to do his job, secure the border. That's all we need him to do and get it done. But they knew in their bones if you could get here and if you worked hard, you could pursue the American dream. You could create even more opportunities for your children and your grandchildren. There was freedom. There was opportunity in this great country. My dad got here. My mom was at school at LSU. My dad was in their married student apartment, didn't know anybody. He wanted a job. He didn't want a handout. He started calling company after company in the yellow pages. And I love what happens because he keeps calling and calling and calling, day after day, hour after hour. Finally, he wears somebody down. Finally, there's a guy that just hires him sight unseen and says to him at a railroad company, you can start Monday morning. I love what my dad says next. He tells his new boss, hasn't even met the man, well, that's great. He said, now, I don't have a car. I don't have a driver's license. You're going to have to pick me up on the way to work Monday morning. Only my dad could get away with that. The boss was so taken by his desire to work, he did exactly that. 6 months later, I was born. Now, I was what you would politely call a pre-existing condition back when I was born. There was no Obamacare or anything like that. And they were married. I don't mean I predated their marriage. I just predated their insurance coverage. And here's the amazing thing. I was born at the same hospital where years later, 2 of our 3 children will be born. Now, when our kids were born, we had to fill out hours of paperwork. When I was born, my dad, there was no insurance to cover me. My dad went to the doctor. He didn't sign a piece of paper. He didn't apply for a government program. He went to the doctor. He said, I'll send you a check every month until I pay this bill in full. And that's exactly what he did. He just shook hands with the doctor, 2 men in the hospital shaking hands, making a commitment to pay that bill.